Alright team, welcome back to CS50W. We are tackling week 0 HTML CSS. So getting into this, there is a 2-hour long video. Some of this is carryover from CS50X if you got that done. But if you didn't, this video is going to be really important. Even if you did, it's going to be really important because basically this video goes over all of the types of things that you would use in HTML and CSS. CSS being the style guide for all HTML, and the HTML being things like your header, your subheader, basically the way that you can format a website in a manner that allows you to do it. Now, here's the trick to formatting a website. If you've ever had to do an outline for an essay, you have to break down like the body, what you're going to put there, the thesis, the conclusion. You do all those things, right? The same thing's true with a website. So when you're building a website, it's a top-down approach, typically. You can put style guides in different places. You can put the Java code in different pages. Typically, it's better to be hosted on a second page. In any which way, you want to break down the style of your website. So take, for example, this right here. You've got your document type, which is HTML, your language, English. You've got a header. You put the information that you want in the header. Then you've got your body. You put your information that you want in your body. You close the header when you're done with that. You open the body. You close the body when you're done with that. So each of these groups is going to be like an outline, because each time you go into something, you go further into your outline, and when you're done, you close that and you come back. So you may be pretty far into your header or your body, but you've got this group here. You're done with this group. You close it, so you come back and you do that group, and so on and so on. So that's how we're going to get started building Google. The other thing that you're going to need is you're going to want to open Google itself. So we're going to show you that right here. So this is the Google website. All I've done on Google is right-click and inspect. When you open inspect, Google Chrome allows you to dive into the website and see some of the code that's within the website. The reason this is important is this is where I got some of my information. So for example, it's looking at Roboto, Arial, and sans serif. You'll see in my code that we're going to be using Arial and sans serif. So when you're trying to mimic another website, you need to know what's going on in the website so that you can mimic it. Now, would they have knocked you for not using the right font? I'm not sure. They were more asking about style and the directionality of the buttons and things like that. So when you get into the specification, going back to that here, it tells you that you have a website, you need to meet the following requirements. We've got 7 of them. 3 pages. We need an index, we need an advanced search, and we need an image search. On the Google search page, there should be links to the other 2 up in the corner, and in each of those 2 pages, there should be links back to the other 2 in their top corner. On the image search page, the query should take you to an image result, and on the advanced search page, you should be able to do find pages with, those 4 items there. And then the advanced search page should be stacked vertically. The advanced button should be blue, and when it's clicked, it should take you to the search results with their given query. It also wants you to add the I'm feeling lucky button. However, that one's a little unique because you can put the right code in there, and like it said, it'll do 2 types of things. You may encounter a redirect, which it says right here, where it says not to worry, this is a consequence of a security feature implemented by Google. When I coded my lucky button, I actually had to look it up. The code for my lucky button appeared to be right. However, Google has another security feature that oftentimes, if the code is right, it basically takes you to the Google Doodle page or some other Google landing page, and it doesn't actually work the way Google's I'm feeling lucky button works. So kinda unique in that. I believe the code that I have in there is right, and if there weren't security features, I should be able to click it. However, I can't be certain on that one because there wasn't really a way for me to test it. I coded about 3 or 4 different ways. I even tried a JavaScript at one point to do a workaround for the advanced search button, but that's not what was asked of me. Now, like all of my videos, I expect that you have read all of the material, particularly things right here where it says, turns out it's search Q Harvard, because that Q parameter is going to be unique to you. You're going to need it. The image search. So I expect that you've gone through all of the necessary functions. That being said, cloning the Google page was not that hard for me. I probably even went a step above and beyond by including an image of the Google logo. So it's not clickable per se, like the image that they have on their screen right here, or the Google logo is typically clickable, whatever the case may be. Mine is not that, but it is an image of the Google logo, so when I run the page, it makes it look like it's actually a Google page. And let's get into that real quick. So in VS Code, once you've aligned everything, you want to open it, and you'll see that my page came out looking like this. So I've got your typical Google search function here. I do have the I'm feeling lucky button. For the image search, if you type an image in, it will search for the image results for Google, and then you notice the navigation bar up here is changing. And on the advanced search, this is how I coded mine. They are stacked vertically. They are left aligned. This is what was requested. I've never used the Google Advanced Search function, and since Chrome has updated, aside from actually doing the coding like putting quotes or using or whatever the case is, I've never used this page, so I just did what it told me to do: vertically stacked, left aligned, blue Advanced Search button. So that's what I have here. So when you're done, not only should yours work as though you're searching Google, this image is optional. It didn't ask for the Google image. I put it in there because aesthetically it was pleasing to me. I also didn't add meta tags. I don't know if they even talked about meta tags in the lecture, but meta tags are important to all HTML. Now if you want to add the meta tags, you can. Google actually does have meta tags, no surprise, on their website. So when we go to the Google website, you'll see that they have their meta tags right here. Now meta charset UTF-8, that's going to be the generic meta tag. A lot of these metas are to name the author, or they'll be to name the website size so that it works with a different device, whether you're on your cell phone or if you're on a tablet. You set these different meta tags to make sure that the website loads appropriately to the size of the device that it's on. Again, it didn't really ask for that right now, so that's not something that I took a big step in doing. Getting into our file here, if you're new to VS Code, the first thing you have to do is you have to make a file somewhere on your computer. You want to make that file. I called it week 00. You can see that right here. You need to make that file because when you go into VS Code, you're going to File and you're going to go to Open File. When you open that file, it will give you this folder. In that folder, you want to make another one. You can click right here, New Folder, Google. And then in that folder, now you can do New File, and you can make advance.html, image.html, index.html, and it needs to be specific, styles.css. That's what churns these into HTML files, CSS files, Python files, what have you. So if you don't name them with the appropriate tagline, then you're not going to get what you're hoping to have on the right file. Your CSS file might end up being an HTML file, your HTML file might end up being a text file. So .html is what we need to know for now, and styles.css. The other important thing is once your styles.css is uploaded, you can't forget to link that to every page. Your styles.css is what is making sure that the styles through the different pages are congruent. Now, moving into index here, we have a very simple code to copy Google. We have our doc type, our HTML language. We open our header, we open our head, and the title is Google search. That's the title of my page. We link our style sheet. So link rel style sheet type text.css reference styles.css. That's exactly what I named it here. You cannot mess this up, otherwise the style sheet will not link. And what's in the style sheet is right here, and it's everything that determines the body, the header, the navigation, the bar at the top, the main, the Google logo. This is because the PNG that I took from online was way too big, so I had to scale it down to a normal size, so this makes it a normal size on the web page. Your search bar, your input type, your search bar input, these are all to make it rounded, to make the right colors. The lucky button, the hover, the blue button, which is my advanced page button. So this particular .blue dash button, these two things here were to make it blue and then to make it rounded. So you want to have a style.css page. For beginners, the style.css page is probably going to be the most difficult. Now again, I'm not here to solve this for you, just to tell you how to solve it, because this is different than CS50X. The walkthrough is going to be a bit different. So on index, getting back to it, we've linked our CSS page, we close our header out, we open our body, and then in the navigation bar, the top bar at the top of my website, so let's open it up again. So this navigation bar right here, this is my ULLI, image and advanced search. Now I named my file advance, but you can title it advanced search. So I reference advance with no D but I title it advanced with a D. So that way when you click on advanced search, it actually goes to advance.html as indicated, even though the spelling on those two things is different. If you make the mistake that I did, just follow that mistake to the end. You can update it. You could change advanced.html to advanced.html and then have it call advanced search. But it didn't really matter, because as long as it's pointing in the right place and it says the right thing, then it doesn't matter. So let's go back to Google search, because that's the page we're working on here. Now I want you to know too that when you inspect this element here, you'll notice the code inside is my code. So here's our header. We said title. Here's my CSS sheet. Here's our body. We worked on the header. We have that navigation bar. We have the links right here, and as we pop them out, you'll see that that's what an inspect element does. There's my reference to that link. There's my reference to the advanced link. So if you go in and inspect your elements, if you're finding errors in your code, when you run the code, you can get in here and it shows you exactly where you put everything, right? Here's my padding. It even shows me the padding I chose on all of these, right? So if I click on this one, you'll see that the padding changes. This can be changed in your CSS style. Sorry, you got to scroll down to see that here. There's your padding. So when you go through all of these, your style guide pops up over here, your CSS file, and then your HTML file pops up right here. So it's a good way to follow your website through. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and close that because we're going to be working in the VSCode. So getting back to our main, we closed our header. We've got our navigation bar up there at the top. In the main file, this is where I sneakily put that Google image in. So this is just an image that I found online of the Google logo. And that's why the Google logo appears on my page, because I just put an image source, put the name of the location, and Google logo, class, Google logo. Now the class, that's all for the CSS file, right? So going back to our CSS file, you see Google logo right here, which means this is how I can control on the index page or the advanced page or on the image page. This one page on CSS controls the size and the style of that class that I have named Google logo. So when you name a class in your HTML file, that class can be universally controlled through your CSS file. So getting back to here, form action. We need a form because we need a search bar. We have class is called search bar, which is determined in my CSS. It's outlined how the search bar looks. Input text, name Q. All right, we went over that in the CS50W review. So that Q is the search query for Google, and that's what we need here. Placeholder, search. That's why on my page, when you pop it open, it says search. That's just a placeholder. Technically it didn't have to be there, but they told me to mirror Google, and the Google I had showed search, so I left it there. If the Google you have doesn't show that, or there's a magnifying glass, you can put a different thing in there, and that's what will be there. Input type, submit, value, Google search. Looking back at this, input type submit, if you click it submit, value, Google search. That's what mine says, that's what yours probably says, that's what it's going to say on the button. So then we close out that category and we open the lucky button. This is the reference I used because that's what I found for the lucky button. I can't guarantee that that's right, but what the input is supposed to do is take what was input into the search bar and output the first website from the search history, and that's what this should do. Unfortunately, because of Google's security features, when you do that for mine and you type in the machine and click I'm feeling lucky, because of the built-in security features, I always get taken to Google Doodles, and after a little bit of research, I was told that that was pretty common because of some security features that Google has. I did try running a couple different things. They didn't work out for me, so that's how I left my index.html. And you can see that Google here, it's not clickable no matter how much hard I try, because it's just an image of the Google logo, which is also why it might not be perfect, but aesthetically it was pleasing, so I left it there. Alright, moving on to image. You'll notice there's not a lot of changes on image. We have our header, go back to our page here, image search. You want it to be the same, right? The only difference is search images and Google image search. So let's see where that happened. We have search images, which we updated here, and we have Google image search. So that's it. So we just changed the input that's sitting in the field, and we changed the value that's on the button. Now, in order to output the Google image search, we had to update the input type text TBM ISCH, and that's when you go into the Google search. It told you that the Q was the placeholder for the regular search, and if you do a Google image search, you'll notice that it says, let's give you a view of it here. So here's your Q right here, and then your input, I just input the machine, and then you're looking for your output, TBM ISCH. Okay? So when we do that, it doesn't matter what we put in there. I have To Kill a Mockingbird, right? And you get images for To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, when you go back to what we have here, you'll notice that I have those same values. We have TBM and we have ISCH. That way when you do a Google image search on My Google here, it will take those same values, To Kill a Mockingbird, Google image search, and you'll see that we have the TBM, ISCH, we have our Q query, and we only return the image returns. So that's the code that's needed to run just an image search from the Google function. So we learn that by exploring Google and by searching image searches, just like we learned the Q query, which was taught to us on the main page. So this is your image search here, not much change. Now there is some changes to advance.html. Here's why. We go to advance.html, we now have these forms that it wanted stacked vertically and it wanted left aligned. This one wasn't the easiest for me. I'm not great on HTML code, to be honest. Originally I had it stacked but centered, and then I had it left aligned but on 2 lines, so it would say find pages with all these words. So these were all aligned and the boxes were all aligned. And then to fix that, I stretched them out across the whole page, and that didn't work. And then I left aligned all of them, but the boxes were aligned, not the phrases. So imagine here that these boxes all started or began right here, so you can see that it cut off words. So I really had to work to figure that out. Now, I did something I shouldn't have done, but it will help you better understand HTML. I did what's called inline CSS. So I could have controlled all of this from the CSS file. I didn't. I did inline CSS. So when we go to our advance.html, you'll notice that it's quite a bit longer. That's for 2 reasons. Number 1, we had to input all of those boxes there. And number 2, I had to style all of those boxes. And because I didn't want to go back and forth between the CSS and the regular page, I just styled it on this page. So we have our advanced search, we have our search field, we have our search field label. Now you'll see that these are all .search field label, .search field label, .search button, right? So all of those originally were meant to complete some sort of CSS at the end of this, where that CSS style would be called. And you'll see if I remove that like I just did, what will happen is all of these boxes end up going back to kind of how they were based on the CSS style page. So we go back in here, we put our inline style back in, we update the advanced search page, and now it's a little bit more, I think, like they were telling me how to do in the project. I could be wrong. If it is wrong on my end, you have the style input here that you can change. You can mess with the amount of pixels, you can mess with the wrap effects, the bottom margin, the flex, the center, all of these things. So all of those are actually updated on this page. If you need it, you've had a lot of opportunity to pause it here. You can also see that the style sheet from the main page is still linked, because we still need to keep the same style through and through for the web page, for the nav bar, etc. Now, this is the first page. Now, you'll notice, if you haven't already, each page only links to the other 2 pages. We don't leave the page that we're on up in the nav bar, so make sure you update that. There's 3 pages, so each page should have 2 links on it. We want to follow that. It shouldn't be leading you to a place that you're already at. So, going to our main here, we uploaded the same Google image here. Now we have a form, and we're using the get function, which you should be familiar with. And we have advanced search, search field, search field, search field, search field. So we have 4 of these, right? So these 4 are all going to be the same. We have the label, we have the find all pages with these words, and then we have the text input. Then we have find all pages with these exact words. We have the exact phrase, and then text input. You'll notice this is all words, this is exact phrase, find pages with any of these words, any words, text input, find pages with none of these words, none words, text input. Then we have the class search button, submit value advanced search class, blue button. We went over that in the beginning. I have a blue button here in my style CSS. You'll see that I put it at the very end because it was one of the last things I made, so dot blue button. And I wrote important here because I was trying to remember not to forget to make it. So background color of the button, color of the text, background color of the button, color of the text, and then a border radius, right? So I actually have 2 in here, and I probably shouldn't. It looks like I made it twice. So let's just get this one out of here, and then remove that, and it shouldn't have any impact to our advanced search page. Refresh. It doesn't. So I made it twice. That's on me, but I got it removed so you can see it better. So now we have the background color, the text color, and then the border radius, which is what helps make it rounded. So having it in there twice didn't matter because they were identical, but it shouldn't be in there twice. You should only have one class for it. We've got that out, and that's fixed now. So there are alternate ways to do what I did. I did ID all words, exact phrases, any words, and none words, so that when you do the searches, it'll come up. If you want exact phrase, it comes up in quotes. If you want any of these words, it comes up with the Google search or, all in capitals. If you do the none words, it comes up with the minus. So those are typical Google functions, and this is the way that it actually helped us run those functions. So there are other ways to do this, I believe. I typically take the path of least resistance, so that's what I went with here. Anyway, then we close out our div, we close out our form, we close out our main, we close out our body, we close out our HTML, and we have successfully replicated the Google search pages. We have all of them here. This is our advanced page, this is our image page, this is our search page, and obviously it looks like a photo's loading because it is a photo loading. Now, if you want to take this a step further, you want to add meta tags, okay? So you want to add, like Google has, you want to add your UTF-8, you may want to add the meta content, you may want to add the viewport, the device width where the initial scale is 1. So there are meta tags you can add in this, and even though they didn't go over it, I would recommend that you get practice with them because you're going to be adding meta tags to everything if this is the type of code you'll be using. So get used to that, get your meta tags, those go at the top of the page, figure out the meta tags that you want in there. You definitely want UTF-8, you probably want viewport. Those would probably be the very least amount of meta tags that you would want. That being said, this completes week 0 for This Is CS50W. That was HTML CSS. I am Devin, and as always, you are awesome. I look forward to seeing you next time. If you have any questions, and I know you might, drop them in the comments there. Let me answer them. Let other people answer them if I'm not available. We're here to help you out. We'll see you soon.